wanted to thank Promilogy for allowing me to graciously provide this podcast to the listeners and just to anybody who ends up stumbling upon it. So today's podcast is going to be on gratitude practices. And before I start with that, just wanted to mention that it is the last podcast for the year. And the next year in 2026, the first episode will be on January 6th, which is a Tuesday. The podcast will be changing. Instead of Wednesday nights, it'll be on Tuesday nights. So I hope that you will still be able to join me with a new date, same time, new date. But the first topic of the year will be about radical resolutions and shifting the re. So you'll have to attend to find out what that means. And it will be a panel discussion. So it will be interesting. All right, so let's get started with our gratitude practices, a panel discussion. And before I start with that, I just wanted to talk a little bit first before we get into the panelists and who they are and what they're going to share with you about what is gratitude. So this is a very brief definition that I took from a dictionary about what gratitude is. And I've talked about gratitude on this podcast before in a variety of different ways, that it can be used, cultivating happiness, talking about recalibrating the nervous system, things like that, just in terms of values and also in terms of managing emotions and looking at how it can manage different kinds of thoughts. And so there are a lot of different other ways that it could be labeled, quote unquote, or called. And there's some in Part B, other terms that it's known as well, synonyms, so to speak, that it can go by as well. And there's probably hundreds, if not more than hundreds of other terms that it could be known as. And then in Part C, how it is expressed. These are like different ways that gratitude can come about, celebrating small victories, saying thank you when you receive something, photos of what we appreciate. I talked about that before in terms of savoring something, writing a thank you letter to someone who makes a difference in your life. And, people love to get handwritten notes. And when's the last time that someone got a handwritten note from somebody in the mail? Usually it's like bills and, all that kind of fun stuff. I don't even know when's the last time I went to my mailbox because I never get anything else but that. So, and observing what you look forward to, anticipation is something that also helps with gratitude. And when we have something that we can look forward to, there is something about that particular thing that brings up this kind of notion of gratitude because we're excited about it and we're grateful that we have something that we can look forward to. There's lots of research on gratitude and what the benefits are of it. And so I'm not going to go into too much detail about that. But I do have a couple studies that are in the references and resources that are listed. But this is what the research says. Decreases depressive symptoms, et cetera, et cetera. And I've talked about this before in different podcasts as well about what gratitude does for people. And they're based on clinical studies, they're based on research studies. And so these are, different tiers of research that demonstrate what people have experienced as a result of different gratitude practices. And so rather than sit here and tell you about different gratitude practices, I thought it might be interesting to have people that actually engage in gratitude practices talk about their gratitude practices and what kinds of things that they've experienced as a result of their gratitude practices. And so here you see people that you may not know and are like, who are these people? I've never seen them here before. And so we are going to talk with these individuals today about their gratitude practices. And so here on the screen, you see these different names and their credentials. These are all psychologists, therapists, social workers, and the like, professionals. And so bringing their human side into the panel. And so as the pendulum is all about, showing you that we're human too, and we do human things. And so part of that is practicing gratitude. And so the first question to all of you on the panel is, what is your gratitude practice? So if anybody would like to jump in, and we'll just do a round robin, you can introduce yourself and talk a little bit about your gratitude practice. Keep in mind, we do only have 30 minutes. So if you can keep it short, that would be great, because we've got a few questions to go through. So who'd like to start us off?
I can go. I have a couple in mind, but I'll share one. I have a business that thrives right now on the networking effect amongst therapists. It's an urgent care therapy office, and we only see clients for single sessions. So we have to refer clients out for continuity of care. The gratitude I feel towards the therapists in our community it's overwhelming. We have a I take care of you, you take care of me model, and I feel it every day. So that is, yeah, the professional side that I'll share for right now.
Great. And so a lot of trust goes into that too. And so with gratitude, there is that kind of sense of trust that comes about with that. Wonderful. Thank you. Who else would like to go?
I would like to go while my dogs are not barking.
Yes.
They keep barking at the sky. So my number one practice is writing it down, whether I write it in my journal or in a notebook or on the screen or on a post-it. I got to write it down. If I write it down, it helps it stick. Sometimes I just say them to myself if I'm feeling stressed out. You can go really basic to really like detailed and full. And when I'm feeling bad, I'm more concise or short. But when I have time, I can write all about it all day. So
So,
writing.
so writing. Okay. So making it real, making it concrete.
Hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's a great way of doing it. Excellent. Who'd like to go next?
I would love to piggyback off of that. I'm also a big believer in writing things down. And the system that I've adopted over the last few years is to use this very specific planner that my wife put me onto a number of years ago, that literally has space to track what my gratitude and health practices are and what my daily habits are. And I find that the act every single day of writing down, um, did I exercise? Did I stretch? Did I practice mindfulness? Helps me maintain the habits, and keeps me consistent with them.
So even just having a place to record things that you just do, and then also the reality of that is a great way to, oh my gosh, okay, gratitude right there, a dog. I mean, I can't help that, sorry. Sorry. Just, oh, and cute. Oh, look at that. Okay. And so just having that like space where you could see it every day and record it and see your progress and all that too. Excellent. Thank you. Who's next?
I'm happy to jump in here. Thank you for having me. Little backstory about how I started my gratitude practice was about 2 years ago in October 2023. I was dealing with a lot of pain, and I came home from a walk and went to on the floor to do some stretches, and not never came off up from the floor. I needed to be transported by paramedics, had emergency surgery, and 5 surgeries after that over the last 2 years. In between the second and third surgery, I went on a trip to Florida to find something, and I found the gift of gratitude. And the way I use gratitude, I came home that day after my trip and got a little blue book. And quote unquote, nightly, I write in that book. And, I write small things, never has to be really like Oscar winning moments. Small things, big things, whatever comes to my mind. And, it's been a wonderful change of pace for me.
Excellent. So even just reflection about your day is the gratitude practice. And just thinking about little things that happened, no matter what they were, but just small things that you can appreciate, just based on your own experience, what happened in that moment for you. Great, thank you. Who'd like to go next?
Like Andrew, I think my gratitude practice, well, it's pretty new, I would say, in the past few months. Was born in a time of a lot of personal challenges and grief and strife and feeling stretched emotionally, physically, in so many different ways. And I was seeing my acupuncturist, and she looked at me and she's like, you know, in Chinese medicine, they say that the antidote to grief, or maybe not the antidote, but really what really helps with grief is gratitude. And I think sometimes certain practices are prescribed to you, like a doctor saying to eat more vegetables, and sometimes it just feels really trite and it doesn't land. But I think I was in a space in my life at that point where I could really hear that. And so I'm laying on the table with, you know, the needles all over me, and I'm thinking about, instead of just thinking about what's going on for me right now, I'm thinking about what's going on for me and how am I grateful for this? Who is supporting me? How am I getting through this? And I think just mentally in those moments where I'm feeling really taxed and really stretched, I think about, I don't write it down. Maybe I can try that eventually, right? I'm in my infancy here. But I think about what I'm grateful for as not to take away from the pain, not to take away from the grief, but to hold multitudes and hold duality of these many, many different experiences.
Yeah, so just allowing yourself to sit in that space and also experience something else at the same time. And being able to hold both at the same time, just not necessarily the opposite of what you're experiencing, but to look at what else is there. Great, thank you. Anyone else like to go?
Yeah.
Bouncing off.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm
Go ahead,
so
please.
sorry. Well, thank you. So bouncing off of, I heard that last statement of what's seeing what's there. So that kind of is a good segue, I think. So for my gratitude practice, for better or worse, I'll spend a lot of time in my head. We all probably do as therapists, and human beings. Um, and so for me, being able to, come up with a concrete practice, either verbally, write it down, say it to myself, I would notice I'd always trickle off. I'd always trickle off. So one thing I noticed that was always consistent for me, which ultimately turned into now my gratitude practice, is I think kids nowadays are calling it the touch grass. I've heard that this is a new catchphrase or a turn of phrase, and essentially meaning get outside. So I love hearing everyone's beautiful statements and like being able to like recognize those things, and then as you were saying too, like being able to recognize that duality. I think that was the other piece there that wanted me to jump in. Yeah, being able to kind of see outside of ourselves and see what's all around us. Like I said, in the nature of the work we do, and just for better or worse, being someone who's often in my head. I've done some Eastern practices as well, and every practitioner is like, you have a lot of energy up here all the time. Like I know. So outside in a nutshell is my gratitude practice. Nothing terribly specific other than getting out and, as they say, touching grass. Although it doesn't always have to be grass, but just getting outside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. So just being out in nature and just appreciating or expressing gratitude for nature and whatever is present there for you. Great. Thank you.
And thank you, David.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, no, of course, of course. Yeah, so for my expression too, I think I find that I have the most difficulty in the morning, uh, just kind of getting things going and starting my day, and I think I'm just kind of lean a little bit more, just struggling in that way, kind of getting myself motivated in a sense. So I find that, I kind of have this mantra for myself. I just tell myself, an acronym. I say TAG, thankfulness, appreciation and gratitude, right? And I just find a way to be able to express that, and um, especially just being able to wake up and be grateful for that too, because um, there's as we all deal with that, and we lose loved ones, it's something that's I'm aware of. So I think that's kind of a practice that I have for myself, just being grateful that I'm able to wake up and continue going forward in my day, and that kind of helps kickstart things for me.
And it keeps it very easy to remember that too. And sometimes we need that, right? Like it's something that's going to keep it very simple. I mean, they say that in the recovery world, keep it simple. Sometimes they say stupid, sometimes they say sweetheart, however you want to say the last S. But the KISS acronym in the recovery world, they talk about that a lot. Yeah. And so that's a great reminder about how when you like use this tag that you've come up with, like you're tagging these experiences for yourself. And thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, thanks.
Just real quickly, I saw what's his name? George Costanza. I forgot his name. He said that when he wakes up, he smiles.
Yeah,
First thing he does is smile big and just smile.
that's awesome. Excellent. Thank you. So kind of moving on to question number 2, I'm going to ask you to kind of combine 2 and 3, just kind of given the time frame that we have right now. But so since you've started your gratitude practice, what have you noticed about the shift in your experiences, in your perception? And then also, if you want to comment on those days when you just don't feel like practicing gratitude and or don't feel particularly grateful. How do you manage those days, weeks, maybe month, and allow yourself that space to have that? Because I know a lot of people, especially working with clients and students, that they struggle with that. Well, I don't have time, or today is just not that day that I do this. And so there's this kind of space where they don't know what to do with that. So what are your ways of dealing with that? What have you noticed about your experiences, your life? How's it shifted perception as a result of your practices? Anybody can start.
I've always preached practicing gratitude until 2 years ago. And to my clients, I would tell them practice gratitude and list all the amazing benefits that we talked about a little bit earlier. And now I've got to experience it myself. I think for me, for the first and foremost, it helped me with my recovery. It made me stronger. It helped me recover faster and quicker. I've always been a terrible sleeper, and doing gratitude nightly has helped me go to bed a little bit more at ease and at peace and in a quicker manner. But I don't do it nightly. I'm human, right? For me, I talk about consistency a lot in my office, but consistency to me doesn't mean daily, doesn't mean nightly. It's 3, 4 times a week, if that. And those times when I can't do it, I just remind myself that the human bond is that we are human and we're going to not be perfect at our practices. And so I just use some self-compassion and allow myself to get back at it the next night, or maybe 2, 3 nights later.
Oh, okay. So just reminding self-compassion, giving yourself permission, and recognizing that you can return to it
Absolutely.
on a different day. Great, thank you. Who's next?
I would say that my practice has shifted my perception and experience in that I noticed that I can actually use it to lower my blood pressure. If I'm anxious and my heart's pounding, if I stop and breathe and do either gratitude or just affirmation or mantra, for me, like when I don't feel like doing it and I'm in a bad place or I can't write it down, I just remind myself that it's okay. You're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. If it's, if it's, if you're not dead, it's not over. So you just keep going and know that the road will come up to meet you every time and you're going to be okay. And so sometimes, it always makes me feel better And even when I don't think it will, it always does. And at the very least, it's relaxing, it's calming.
So you recognize that even those days when you just are not in the space to do it, that it does do something for your nervous system, even though
Right.
your mind is not following suit with it.
Right, because I've built the practice so much and I worked so hard on it that it's there for me even when I don't when I'm not. So sometimes
Oh,
I called it the cavalry. So
yes.
sometimes the cavalry will come in and help me when I can't feel like I can't do it myself. But I always remind myself that if I feel like I can't, I definitely can.
Yeah, your own inner resources come to your rescue.
Right. I remember grad school and how much I wanted to die and feel like I couldn't do it, and here I am. And I think we can all say that. We made it through grad school, what?
What?
Do anything.
Pretty much. If you can make it through grad school, yeah. Thank you. Who'd like to go next?
I think my answer is the same for 2 and 3. I think the opening my eyes that like gratitude is there, but not like in this I don't know, intellectualized way, but like it's something that I can really embody. It made me realize that it's a choice. I can choose to be overcome by these emotions. I can choose to find ways to feel better about it. I think it really highlighted the aspect of choice in my life in a time where I felt like I didn't have a choice, and there was something that provided me a lot of agency in that. And I think with number 3, like, how do I deal with when I don't want to? It's right back to the fact that it's a choice. Or if I don't want to, I can make that choice. I think what I'm working on in my life is how to make a choice without feeling ashamed of the choice, of just like meeting myself where I'm at. And then also, right, so meta, but like feeling grateful that I have the spaciousness to be aware that I'm doing all of this. And it just creates such a lovely practice for myself that I really try to emulate in my practice.
Wonderful. So just recognizing that it also cultivating that awareness of being able to be more intentional with what you're doing with it and having more, ironically, more control over it than what you initially had or thought you had. And then recognizing that there is more control you have over this space and being able to embody that and experience it differently.
Yes.
That's great. Thank you so much. Who'd like to go next?
I will. Um, and I don't have anything radically different from, what everyone else just said. I really resonate with the bit about having self-compassion and patience and sort of a realistic understanding that, not every day will present opportunities for gratitude. And that's fine. That's okay. We're not always gonna, like Andrew said, we're human. It's really hard to make ourselves feel grateful on a daily basis. Especially on days when there isn't really anything that strikes us as sort of worthy of gratitude. But just having that recognition and that self-compassion and the ability to say, okay, let's try again tomorrow. Hopefully something comes up that we can. I like to think of myself as a we. I don't know. But we can try again tomorrow, keep a lookout for other things that make us feel grateful.
And I also heard in there, it also brings a sense of integrity.
Yeah.
To it, that by doing that and just allowing that space, that you're not forcing it to happen, that it is much more purposeful, intentional, authentic, and thereby creating a much more space of integrity for yourself.
forced gratitude doesn't really feel
Yeah.
genuine.
Right, exactly. And so there is that integrity that comes with it as a byproduct without knowing it. You just experience that as part of that practice when you allow yourself to be human with it. Okay, thanks. Who'd like to go next?
I think I'll jump in there. I think that aligns perfectly with why for me, I think going out, being out in nature, or I know we kind of talked offline too of, if nature's not accessible to everybody, I'll throw a curveball here. I think the second question was, how has it shifted perception experience? I think many of us are from Illinois, as was I. I'm coming from you, or coming to you, I should say, from Arizona. So I really like dove all in on nature as gratitude. I'm like, we're gonna go and see mountains and sun. But all that to say though, being able to, access it or not access it, depending on what time of year and your weather and all of that. Um, yeah, I think so that was shifting the experience, was like physically finding new opportunities. But I love nature also because of that flow state. I think you mentioned not forcing and flowing, which was such a shift, not just a physical shift in moving, but even a mental shift of we step outside and so much of the work we do is, with people, and we are people with people for people. The we, if you will, I love that. And you step outside and I know we had talked, Dr. Serena, of, you watch birds and they're not panicked, like they're not worried, and they have a place to go and they have food to eat. And obviously that's not always the case sometimes when humans get involved. But if you watch nature as it is and it's meant to be, there's this beautiful flow state. And so yeah, being outside, whether physically or, in a room here with nature scenes and fake plants, if you will, yeah, I think being able to connect to that piece of the we, the part of the whole, but also like the force or the flow, not the force. And also that it's all going to be okay. And that, yes, there are certainly plenty of things and problems to solve and things to address. And it's all very important, but then pendulum, right? It's also not at the very same time. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. And also recognizing that, again, not by forcing it to happen, that it does end up, as you said, as many of you said, being taken care of, in its own time, just like nature, for example, it gets taken care of in nature. And we tend to, as human beings, we just love to control for some reason. I think that's like a byproduct of the human part of us, is that we like that control. And the being part is allowing ourselves to let go of that control. So that's part of that kind of dichotomy, if you will, so to speak. So, and just allowing that ease and flow to come into it. Absolutely. Thank you. Who'd like to go next?
Yeah, I'll share quickly. I think for myself, I've found myself being very apologetic at times, and I think that kind of follows or it kind of flows into forgiving myself.
Mm.
As I if I as I'm flawed, and I don't do it on a daily basis, and of course there's things that can remind you, just being thanking somebody for something that they do, that can be maybe a trigger to kind of leading you into possibly, somehow some sort of practice of being grateful. But that doesn't mean it's going to be perfect, obviously. But I just say that more so to emphasize that it's important to be forgiving to ourselves too, and I think that's really important.
Yeah, absolutely. And just allowing yourself that space, that not shaming, right? The forgiveness is about not the shame and not the guilt, and you're not doing anything wrong or being bad, that it's okay to have a moment where, yeah, this is trial and error. You're kind of figuring it out, what's going to work best for you. Great, thank you. Anyone else want to share? One more. Who
I
didn't
can
share?
go.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I can go. So I know I mentioned community in my business, but community is a big value of mine personally as well. And I think of 2 and 3, especially 3, how you manage the days when you don't feel like it. We're our harshest critics. And when I don't feel like it, I know my community they remind me, not in a direct way, you should be grateful, but they will remind me what to be grateful for. And they, I think, hold us, our community, when we're not feeling that, as we are allowed to, because as we all agreed, being in pain or suffering is part of being human, fun stuff. But it is a thing. So yeah, my gratitude practice of community has changed my life. It's built my business. It has helped me find my network, my people. And so, yeah, they hold you. That's my gratitude practice. Grateful for the people in my life, and they remind you when you need to be reminded of why life is here. So.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And just when you have those days and months and weeks, or days, weeks and months where you don't feel gratitude or want to even practice, that somehow your community, the universe, the neighbors, something reminds you to be grateful, that, oh yes, by the way, here's something to be grateful about. Just so you know, that this could happen. This could happen. Like when, you pull a muscle out of the blue, it's like, oh yeah, just be grateful that it's a muscle you pulled and not something else. Oh, yes, I am grateful. Thank you. Yes, yes. It was a nice reminder. So, wonderful. Did everybody go to answer that question? I just want to make sure everybody had a chance to answer. Okay, wonderful. Well, I really appreciate all of your time this evening, and we are right at the mark. So thank you so much for sharing your practices and what you learned from them, what you've experienced, and how you manage it. I just want to share contact information of our panelists. So there are 4 listed on this screen, and I'm just going to keep it up for a moment. But again, you can always see the recording of this session on the platform itself or on YouTube. And I don't know if there's any comments or questions from those of you on the call right now. If anybody has any questions or comments that they want to share. And I'm going to put on the second screen very quickly. All right. Well, once again, I am very grateful to all of you for being here. And I hope you have a great rest of your year, since this is the last podcast. Not like, wow, that's just seems so early to say that, but yeah, just thank you so much for being a part of this panel. I really appreciate your time and your energy for being here. And for those of you on the call that I know, thank you for showing up today. I really appreciate you being here too. And we will see you in 2026. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Serena.
Thanks.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Have a good night.